That's my bad.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minions with me this evening are Adam,
Hello.
Shady Grin,
Hello.
and it's Friday, so of course I'm the keeper, at least the spoken keeper this time, since I had some interesting technical difficulties early on in the night last night, so my computer ended up getting kind of borked. I think I've gotten it back up and running, but just to be on the safe side, I've asked Adam to do the tech side of the keeping this evening. And to those asking why there's another copy of Minions of the Zoo, it is
Ironically, it's
actually
the
we're
other
going
one.
to the 28th.
Yeah.
Let me quickly let everyone know.
Yeah, I was just looking because I was waiting for the other one to go live, and then.
Yep.
So you can go ahead and put the blame on me. If anything goes wrong, because I am the guy behind. I'm your what was Ned in Spider-Man? I'm the
The
guy
tech
behind.
guy.
Yeah, the
Guy
tech.
behind the. I forget what he
So-
called himself.
Just to give everyone a little bit of time to hop over here and find out, I
Oh,
did put
jeez.
it in the chat of the other stream, as did Hammer. Hammer's watching along to make sure that everything's going okay because he knows that my computer is on the fritz.
Oh.
There we
It's
go.
all right. You know, we started off with a bumpy road, but eventually we come to smoother pastures. I don't think that's the right term.
What
but
is it? The AAA guys and Ghost Ghost City Ghost. I don't know why I'm having so much fucking problem saying the name tonight.
Gulf
God damn it.
City.
Gulf City. Podcasts say when you have tech airs, that's how you know that you're going to have a good show. But yes, as I was saying, my computer shit the bed last night. I just recently got it up and working again, I think. By the way, thank you for the help again, Hammer. But just to make sure that it doesn't go down if my computer decides to shit the bed a second time, Adam was kind enough to be the tech side keeper for me this evening.
Well, I tried.
So far, so good. Just a couple hiccups here and there. But it just makes it fit the name even more. This is the technically difficult show.
We are having some crazy storms in the Midwest, so let's be fair. I think even Monkey was having trouble.
Oh yeah, it's just an interesting time for internet connectivity and actual ability to get everything to work as it's supposed to. But that being said, and the necessary caveats and warnings tossed out, how are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Just a little tired, out of it a bit. But otherwise, I'm good.
Is there any particular reason for the being a bit out of it, or
Nah, I just.
general malaise?
Mind is everywhere, and I don't sleep as soundly as I'd like. So I'm usually just lethargic all day, and I try to stay awake, but it's not exactly successful. So
I can definitely empathize with that. And how about you, Adam? How are things going on your side?
Well, it's the start of a 3-day weekend, so that's pretty good.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
You know, yeah, other than that, you know, been pretty chill.
Yeah, there's Memorial Day. It is Memorial Day that's coming up, right?
yeah,
Yes.
Memorial Day is coming up, so you guys have any plans for your days off?
No.
Or just veg out and relax?
Yeah, just hang out and relax. And I didn't get an ass whooping, as Coco would say. We had some very good bouts. That's what happened.
Yeah, I might try to stream tomorrow. I don't know on Twitch, but it's up in the air. So
Nice. So, what all are you streaming over on Twitch?
Yeah.
Anything I feel like at the time, because either probably Arkham City or just what's it called, Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous. I don't know yet.
See, when you said anything I feel like at the time, I just got the image of you popping up a stream. This is how you make a sandwich: bread, meat, cheese, bread, done. Click on the stream.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I impulse stream, so because I can only stream like on Saturdays, because my any other day is like my dad's working and all that stuff, and
Yep.
I want to spend time with family too. So
Yeah, I've played the other Pathfinder game that came out, Kingmaker, a fair bit, and that one's fairly fun. Wrath of the Righteous, good as well.
I've never played that one. I've basically going in fairly blind. Quiz helped me make a character the other day because I didn't know what I was looking at, but because I'm not familiar with Pathfinder rules, and they're vary a bit from the actual rule set because it's a video game.
Yeah.
So
Fewer spells, fewer utility spells.
I'm playing a rogue, something. I think it's a knife master or something.
Oh yeah, the Knife Master Rogue.
Yeah, so I'm gonna see how that works out.
Nice.
I wanted to start with an alchemist, but I'm like, this is rated the second most difficult class, so.
Oh yeah, because it's a caster class, but it's a caster class that doesn't really have offensive spells for the most part. What it does have is bombs. It makes bombs, it makes things explode, and then it drinks a strange concoction in order to become beefed up.
Yeah, I was gonna do a grenadier, so. But I figured it better restart off because I don't know the system to start off with something simple.
Fair enough, that's probably a good option. Pathfinder is based off of 3.5, so it is gloriously complex, but allows you to completely fuck your character.
Yeah.
Which I really miss that from RPGs, from tabletops, when you could just completely fuck up your character in the build.
Yeah.
Now, every character is good, but it's really hard to be great. And it's really, really hard to suck dick. And you were saying it sounds like a...
Whoa. Hold on. What are you searing there?
I am just finishing off a saute of mushrooms, onions, some shishito peppers with a little bit of smoked shoyu. Then I'm going to be transitioning this over to a bowl just to sit and relax for a few moments. Let the flavors marry a little bit more as my rice continues cooking. And then once my rice is nearly done, I'll be cleaning out the skillet that I just used, laying down a beautiful steelhead trout, getting the skin nice and crispy, and then, since this is cast iron and can deal with any temperature that my oven can throw at it, I'm going to flip on my broiler on high, and stick the trout right underneath the broiler, get a little bit of color, pull it out once it's done. Mix in some chili crisp into the rice that I'm going to have, mix in a bit of butter, a little bit of shoyu, then the mushrooms, onions, and shishito pepper, and lay the nice trout over top for my dinner tonight.
Nice.
It should be glorious. But yeah, what have you guys been up to today, or seen anything that caught your fancy? Anything that you've been dying to talk about?
You know me, I always have D&D shit, but I don't want to talk about it right now because my brain's a little fried.
Fair enough. I was going to say, if you want to talk about D&D shit, you can. I mean, fuck, I love D&D.
Yeah, I just have ideas, but I'm probably gonna deal with that tomorrow. Because I'm trying to wind down for the evening and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So what about you, Adam? Anything catch your fancy today?
Well, I mean, there certainly is quite the abundance of topics to choose from. I don't know. We are living in interesting times.
Yeah.
If we want to kind of shy away from the major current event tonight, we can talk about a number of other things. There was a video that I watched earlier that's had me thinking, which was from the I want to say Economic Freedom Foundation. Let me quickly double check. It might be in the Foundation of Economic Freedom. It's a YouTube channel.
Wait. Hold on. And you can follow her real quick. Hey, Spudgun. Spudgun says, "Hey all, not hanging out, about going to sleep, listening to the stream. Well, you know what, sir? It's your lucky night. Because tonight, Minions of the Zoo is going ASMR. Just for you, Spudgun. Oh, yeah.
So that means that I need to get in real close here and just make sure that I maintain
hold on.
a nice, low, even, dulcet tone.
I didn't sign up for this.
Even better, Sanguine, if you get some close-up shots of the cooking. Oh, yeah. Go to sleep.
See, the thing is, Shady, you already signed the permission slip, as did both your parents. I made sure of this before I had you on the stream. So this is exactly what you signed up for.
Yep. But unfortunately, I ate the pizza that was guaranteed for it because I'm hungry.
So now, since he doesn't get the pizza, I feel like that kind of voids the permission.
Why do you gotta go into legal details?
He was supposed to get some food. If he's not getting food, then I'm not sure that he really signed up for this. He signed up for it in order to get pizza. Let's be honest here.
The contract was broken as soon as Adam ate the pizza.
Exactly. But yeah, there's the video I ended up watching a little bit earlier today. Which here, let me pull up and make sure that I am thinking the right channel. Just go to my history and the Foundation of Economic Education. That's what it is. It's a guy who does a bunch of videos on a load of different topics. A good number of them touch on economics, but not all of them are about economics. So he has another series where he talks mainly about media on that channel. And his video was about how Hollywood seems to have problems writing characters that are just good.
Yeah.
They
Like, do they mean just good, like justice, just just and
Just
solid
and
type
good.
of thing, or
Yes.
Oh, just and good. So
Or-
like good versus evil type thing.
yeah,
Yep,
or
they have-
just good. Like they, I mean, they
Well-
can only just be good.
just good as in they aren't the anti-hero. They aren't the person that, oh, you don't understand the fucked up things that I do. It's all because I had a horrendous childhood. So really the fucked up things that I do are actually good. Hollywood has just been pumping out a bunch of those sorts of characters where it's, well, you have to understand their childhood. You have to understand their upbringing. What they do isn't really evil because, well, the people that they're murdering and torturing were kind of shitheads to them when they were younger. No, that doesn't fucking justify you murdering and torturing them. Just because Susie kicked sand in your face doesn't mean 30 years later you can chop off her legs. But Hollywood keeps on pumping out a lot of stories that have these characters that they aren't even morally gray a good chunk of the time. They're just villains, but Hollywood has a hard time actually portraying them as just villains.
Yeah.
And when they do have a hero, it's always that the hero's still kind of fucked up. And not fucked up like it's a broken hero who's trying to pull themselves back together. But no, the hero is also murdering people wantonly and not giving a damn about the collateral damage in a fight. And they're just, oh well, I beat the bad guy. Job's done. You murdered the city. Beat the bad guy.
Yeah. That's why I liked the 3 Captain America movies, because there's
Yeah.
no more. I don't care if they make another and call it Captain America. There's no more. Because Steve Rogers was a genuinely heroic person.
Yeah. He was this fantastic stand-up character. And when you think old school Superman is absolutely this way. I don't know how many times I've mentioned it on stream now. My favorite Superman moment is from the animated series.
Wait, the Fletcher or the
The one that was
Tim-
at the same time as the new
Tim
animated
Bruce?
adventures of
Bruce Tim?
Batman. So
Yeah,
the one that
same
was
guy,
contemporary
yeah.
to that one. There's a fantastic episode where Superman decides that he wants to have a victory that is just Clark Kent's. So he figures out that someone was framed without using his superpowers. He figures this out. And he does all the legwork throughout the episode without relying on superpowers. And he gets all the evidence to prove that this man was framed. And he's driving there rather than flying in order to get the evidence in to whoever needs it before the man is executed. And as he's on his way, the person that actually did commit the crime, the actual murderer, unbeknownst to Superman, had cut his brake lines on his car. And as he was going around this sharp bend in the road that was near a effectively cliff into the water, the guy also blinds him for a second, making it so that by the time that he would be able to react as a normal person and turn without having his brakes, it's too late for that. And he goes off the cliff, crashes into the water. And then, of course, he's Superman. He survives this shit, no problem. He gets out. He realizes that someone just tried to kill him. He realizes that the person's probably watching him. So he can't just pop up onto the surface, or else the person will continue trying to kill Clark Kent. So he swims away under the water, and now he's having trouble because he did all of this in order to give Clark Kent a victory, in order to show that it wasn't just Superman that was a good person, but it was Clark Kent was a good person. And now, if he goes forward with the evidence that this guy apparently had been watching Clark Kent collect the entire time, and frees this man who's on death row from his death sentence, there's a chance that Clark Kent might be found out as being Superman. So he doesn't know what he should do. And what he does is he calls the most moral people that he knows. Who does he call, Shady?
I have.
This is Superman. He, of course, knows all the other heroes because this was at the
His
same
parents.
time as a number of... Exactly. He knows all these superheroes. He knows Batman. He knows Wonder Woman. He knows the Green Lantern. He knows all the DC superheroes. But when he's having trouble and he doesn't know what the right thing to do is, he calls Ma and Pa Kent. And he talks to them, and Ma and Pa Kent tell him that he knows what the right thing to do is. And his whole thing of trying to prove that Clark Kent is a good guy too, not just Superman, is ridiculous. Because he is Clark Kent. He isn't Superman. He's Clark Kent. He is their son. Everything that he does, no matter if he's doing it under the persona of Superman or under his own persona, he's still Clark Kent. If his secret identity gets blown and he has to remake himself and become someone else, he will still be their son. He will still be Clark Kent. And Clark Kent knows that a man is going to die if he doesn't do the right thing.
Yeah.
So, how is this a problem? Are you going to be able to just let this man die in order to hide a secret? And of course, the answer from Superman is no. Thank you. And he immediately goes off and gets the man cleared of the charges. He's saved from death row, despite all of the problems. That is an amazing Superman moment. And that's where the movies, at least the modern movies, really fail. There's a fantastic scene from the old Chris Reeves movies that also really sums up Superman. Do you guys remember? It's at the very beginning of, I want to say Superman 1, but it might have been Superman 2, where Clark Kent gets mugged. And it's right at the very beginning of the movie.
I can't recall, dude. It's been a while since I've seen the Superman movies.
It's just Chris Reeves walking down an alley. So he's wearing his suit. He's Clark Kent at this moment, but he's still fucking Superman because they're the same person. And he goes walking down an alley. A guy comes out with a knife and says, or I can't remember if it was a knife or a gun, but comes out with a weapon and tells him to give him all his money. And he starts trying to talk the guy down and get the guy just to leave him alone. The guy actually attacks him. I think the guy uses the weapon on him and then bashes him over the head. And again, this is Superman. He wasn't hurt by any of that shit. What does he do? He immediately collapses to the ground and pretends that he's been knocked out.
Yeah.
The guy rummages around, grabs his wallet, runs off. Clark Kent gets back up, dusts himself off, continues walking. Because he didn't need to do anything. He wasn't in any danger. So he couldn't justify using his powers against just some 2-bit thug on the street because it would have been complete overkill. That was what Superman was. That was always what Superman was. Superman was just what would happen if you gave a good, honest country boy superpowers.
Yeah.
But people forget that. And now the modern ones, no, he's a dickhead. He's
a god, and he's all this.
Yeah.
Well, technically, most of DC's superheroes are like godlike, but they're not assholes because of it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You can have Superman have godly powers. Superman has always had near godly powers. There has been power creep, but he's always been far beyond what a normal mortal man can do. But they've still, in previous generations, maintained that center of he's Clark Kent. He's a farm boy with good, honest parents that raised him right.
Yeah.
And the video, I recommend everyone watches the video because it was really good. In fact, here, let me pull up the link to it and I'll share it out in chat because he goes through a number of different examples of how the media has just been cranking out these dark heroes, these anti-heroes, these poor, misunderstood protagonists. So it's all right that they do fucked up things, and no, it isn't. And the thing that drives me crazy is there's amazing examples of just really good characters in other media. Like,
Yeah.
Shady, you like anime, right?
Yeah.
My Hero Academia.
Mm-hmm. I'm not
Deku's
fully caught up, but yeah.
yeah, you don't need to be fully caught up to know Deku's just a good fucking guy.
Yeah.
And you see that straight from the first episode. Deku has no powers. He sees someone in danger, and this kid who doesn't have a fucking power to his name when everyone else does, goes running into the fight.
Yeah.
Knowing that he's going to die. Because he couldn't just stand there and watch as someone else died without him doing anything. That is just a character who is good.
I mean, you're I'm trying to put where the hell? Okay, wrong. There we go. Paste. I put in a private chat a link to a comic panel that you made me think of with your Superman story that I've always appreciated. I don't know what comic it's from, but it's Superman, and basically just he's in midair with a guy who has a jetpack, and it says like, "Where'd you get this? I built it. You need to understand I was desperate. I lost my place. All I had was my garage, my tools. My wife was going to leave me, take our kid. I just want to." And he's Superman. The whole point is Superman's more amazed that this guy built this fantastic technology in his garage. And his first thought was, "You're going to commit crimes with that?" Yeah, there it is. Sorry, I didn't realize it was streaming.
Oh, but, no problem. Like I said, I was quickly pulling up so that everyone could see what you're talking about.
And rather than
I'm
just
handling
like,
the tech.
Yep, he's handling the tech. I just did the screen share so that he could then actually click it through.
Anyway, like it's just a Superman thing, a good hero thing to do, rather than turn him in and all that stuff. He gives him a second chance, tells him where to go, and he'll put in a good word for him.
Mm-hmm.
to turn his life around rather than just throw it all away because he had a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
it
then,
was,
oh, continue. Sorry, didn't realize
I was just, I don't know where I was going.
Well, no, that's a really good example of a good story for a Superman character, because he's not just dealing with, galactic or cosmic type characters. He's also dealing with these goofballs who may not be villains, but they just are misled. And
Mhm.
like, yeah, like you said, he could use that technology for good, and that's what he should do. This is his second chance, and that's, I think, is a good example. This is a really good example, Shades, of a way to portray Superman as a hero, not just beating up bad guys, but
Yep.
showing a good,
Yeah.
a good way to be
And that
be
was
a better
always
person.
one of the things that was core to Superman. That's the reason why. Think about it. Of all the arch villains for different heroes, you have the Joker, who is the arch nemesis of Batman. You have the various other heroes, each have a very specific arch nemesis that puts them in direct opposition to something that fucks with them. Who's
Yeah.
Superman's arch nemesis?
Sociopath.
It's Lex Luthor. It isn't even a sociopath. He's a absolutely brilliant guy. And there's a good number of points where it shows that he does have morals. He does have things that he wants to do. He isn't just out to destroy the world. No, he thinks that the best way to move the world forward is for him to take charge.
Yeah.
And it's not entirely without basis, because he is fucking brilliant.
But the whole reason I said sociopath is because he did have a hand in his parents' death and all that stuff. He's kind of a manipulative asshole.
Oh,
But
yeah.
this is he's a good villain, but I still have a problem with him being I prefer the Joker because the Joker is inexplicable. You cannot reason, you cannot figure out what's going in his head. He's just chaos incarnate.
That's why the Joker's a better villain for Batman, and Lex Luthor is the quintessential Superman villain, because Lex Luthor makes when it's well done, Lex Luthor constantly makes Superman question his morals and question his stance on things, because it would be so fucking easy to let this person who has shown that, yes, he's intelligent, he can make things work, to just make things work. And a good chunk of the time, his plots, they are horrendous in how they get someplace. But where they get is actually rather attractive.
Hold on, let me share with you this.
I can't hear it.
Let's see. I is coming in soft. Did you click the share audio?
Yeah. Oh, share audio.
Yep. When you share, there's a share audio. So you have to click out of the share screen for a moment. So get it to stop sharing screen. Then you restart.
Yeah, well,
share.
there was a really quick commercial, anyways. But Lex Luthor wanted Superman's secret ingredient for his peanut butter. One of dastardly.
But yeah, there's constantly times that Lex Luthor, and one of the things that was always a driving influence of Lex Luthor is the main reason why he became the antagonist to Superman is he wants to show that humans don't need a
Godlike hero.
ridiculous godlike hero humans can solve their own fucking problems. And how do you hate a man for that? Which is why it is fantastic, because what he does often backfires. What he does often causes massive issues. But is he really evil? He does fucked up things, but is he evil? And he falls shy of being evil, which is what makes it fantastic, because that way, Superman, you can't have a really interesting, you're on the edge of your seat story where the main threat that the villain has to Superman is, I have ridiculous powers. Motherfucker, you're talking to Superman.
Kokonoe in chat, I agree. Kind of like Doctor Doom. Yes.
Yeah.
Doctor Doom, I mean, not only is he top tier scientist and
Occultist,
mystic,
right?
I want to say, yeah, because he mixes them both, but he's also leader of a whole country. And while people from the outside look at it as like, oh my god, he's a dictator, but when you look at the stories, the people of Latveria, they like Doctor Doom. They think their lives are peaceful. So I mean,
And yeah, they have a peaceful life. And also, from what I remember, I could be wrong, or it could have been retconned at some point, or this might have been a retcon at some point. There's a fair bit of tech development in his nation as well, because he's pumping out ridiculous shit.
Yeah.
So his
kind of like
people,
Wakanda.
yeah, his people are prospering off of this ridiculous genius. This ridiculous genius is making sure that they stay safe. Yeah, they don't have all the freedoms that other people do, but they're safe and they have all these advancements. So this is a fairly human thing where a lot of people will trade freedom for comfort.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will say I liked his portrayal in Marvel Ultimate Alliance on the Switch, which I promise I'll play on the arcade. But also the Avengers cartoon. I think it was the Mighty Avengers or Avengers Assemble, one of them. But when he's in there and he's talking about the scrolls, it's like, yeah, dude, this is exactly what he would manipulate two teams to get to his benefit. And at the end of it, it's, you know what? But it's because I'm destined to rule the world. I love Doctor Doom. This is fucking Doctor Doom's awesome.
I'm trying to remember if it's a Doctor Doom quote or just something that was said by one of the other villains, but there's one line from a villain that is the summation of my favorite type of villain. It is the villain that there's a bigger, badder evil that shows up that is trying to destroy the Earth, and the villain shows up and goes, okay, so I'm here to help. And everyone's going, you're a villain. What the fuck are you doing here? And he just kind of looks at them and goes, I want to rule the Earth. He wants to destroy it. If it's destroyed, I can't rule it.
Yep.
I'm here to help.
I think that was he did that in I think it was the first Secret Wars or something like that, where with the first instance of the Beyonder, and he was like, you know what? I want that power. It's like, oh shit. This is like, yeah, Doctor Doom's awesome. He's like, yeah, fuck you, villains, fuck you, heroes. You know what? I'm gonna be the Beyonder. Yes, I think that's the proper way, and especially with the Secret Wars, the one that it looks like they're turning to with the cinematic universe, where he's like, yeah, we're just gonna make Battle World, and you guys fight it out. I'll kill anybody who fucking decides to try and undo what I'm doing. Dude, Doctor Doom is fucking brilliant. I love Doctor Doom.
Yeah, but the thing is that I don't know why this is, and the channel that I shared a link to had a idea of why they think this is happening. But we have a bunch of writers who can't write characters that are actually good. And when they write evil characters, they either don't want to portray them as evil, or they are just completely insane evil. They've gotten rid of every other more compelling type of evil. You can have a sympathetic evil, and you can do that really well. There's a book series that I'm going to reference for several characters right now, where it's the Stormlight Archive. There's one character in the book who is fairly evil. He does some fucked up shit. But he does the fucked up shit because he thinks that that's the only way that he can save anyone. He thinks that if he doesn't do this, everyone will die. But he can save some people by damning himself. He does fucked up shit. He does evil fucking things. But that's a fairly good motivation to do the evil fucked up things that he does. It doesn't fix it. It doesn't make it so that it's suddenly good. It's just someone that you're going, man, now fuck you even more, because if you were good, you would be fucking great. But you're doing this shit.
It's one of those, he believes what he's doing is for the greater good, and he doesn't mind stepping over people to get to where he needs to go, and that's where it's like, okay, that's the villain, but at the other end it's like, son of a bitch, the means that he goes to hell to save his mom's soul,
Yeah.
like this dude is this dude's crazy. I'm not gonna.
That's the villain that could have, if one or two things had changed, been the hero. And those are fantastic villains. Those are villains that really make you just go, oh my god. You hate them, but at the same time, you're going, you could have been amazing. But you did this. What the fuck is wrong with you? I love those characters. Then there's also, in that same series, two characters. And I'll give both of these characters names because it doesn't really spoil anything. There's Kaladin Stormblessed and Dalinar Kholin. Both these characters, I'm not going to go into any great detail to explain how, but both these characters are or were deeply broken, damaged people. Both of them, despite being deeply damaged, broken people, could not help themselves, but when someone else was in danger, when someone else needed help, to throw themselves into it. That's what being a good guy means. Being a good guy doesn't mean that you have all these powers so you're just able to do everything without any problem. No, it means that when you are so broken, so fucked up that you don't think that you can do anything, but then you see someone else in danger, when you see someone else struggling, you end up groaning as you get up and shamble over to them to help them. We need those characters back in media in general. We have those characters in written media. We have those characters in some comics that are not by the major comic publishers. We have these people that pop up in anime and in other stories from other parts of the world. But for some reason, if it's produced in Hollywood, it's forbidden. We need those characters back.
Yeah.
And it's just irksome. The main justification for why we don't have those characters is, oh, they would be boring. Tell me how that's boring. How is it boring watching someone spend their heart, their nerve, and their sinew to save other people?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this recently a lot because my parents are hooked on a show called Ozark.
Yep.
It's a fairly well written show. It's got a lot of good reviews and all that stuff. And I don't like it because everybody in it is an insufferable, irredeemable asshole. And you're supposed to be rooting for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because like they're villains technically. They're drug dealers, they're all sorts of, they're criminals. They're part of a criminal underworld, and it's like this is like it started with Breaking Bad and then Game of Thrones, and then it just it's just like, I don't know, it's like I don't want these. I want the good guy to win. I want the bad guy to repent or something.
Yeah, I don't need
fall.
I don't need every story to be there's this paragon of virtue. And the villains are interesting villains. No, I just need some of the shows to have that. I do love a good story of a fall, which is the Breaking Bads and various other shows. They do those very well, where it's a character that has really good, positive characteristics, and then they are just laid fucking low as time goes on. And the things that at the start they would have never done because they were wrong and they couldn't stomach the thought of them doing it, they're now doing habitually. Those stories can be fascinating. But those stories shouldn't be every story. You should still have the heroes. You should still have the people that are just good and honest and they do the right thing, not because it's easy, not because it's convenient, not because it gets them anything, but because it was the right fucking thing to do, even if it costs them. It was the right thing.
Yeah. But it's been hammered through, I don't know if it started in school or Hollywood, but it's been hammered into people that there's no such thing as right and wrong. Everybody's got a reason, and it's this gray area garbage, and it frustrates the hell out of me. There's no original stories anymore. There's no hope, essentially, is what they're trying to convey.
That's the part that pisses me off. It's everything's hopeless. The world is shit. It will always be shit, and it has always been shit. That part pisses me off because no, the world is only shit if we allow it to be shit. The world is shit if we don't aspire to actually push it forward, and not push it forward in the sense of everything that's progress is good. No, not everything that's change is good. You need to actually see whether this is going someplace good. And then if it's going to be something good, you need to make sure that you do it in the right way so that it is actually good. You don't just get to say, well, it's change and change is good. No, the fuck it isn't. Sometimes change is goddamn miserable. We currently don't have slavery. So instituting slavery would be a change. That sure as shit wouldn't be a good one.
Yeah.
you need to have the ability to actually look at what's going to happen. And like I said, just have heroes again. Have heroes that are doing the right thing because it's the right thing. And this is something that I've said before, and I do have a somewhat draconian view on morality when it comes to this. I don't think that someone's doing something moral unless they have to choose to do the moral thing. If you do something moral out of habit, it's a good thing that you did, but it is not a morally good thing. It's just something that you did that had a good result. You have to choose to be moral in order to be moral, in my mind. And
Yeah, you gotta be able to make your own choices in that, right?
yeah, you have to be able to make your own choice. You have to be able to say that you did this thing that's good because you saw it as the right thing to do. Not because it benefited you, not because it made you look good, but you did this because it was just the thing that needed to be done. It was the thing that was the right thing to do. And you were there, you realized this, so you chose not to wait for someone else to do it.
I think you're I think you're referencing personal responsibility, and I think nowadays you're not really supposed to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, nowadays there's a massive stress towards collective responsibility.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
And collective responsibilities utter horseshit in my mind. Personal responsibilities, what we need to rely on, because that's the only thing that can hold anything together. Yeah, you can have a collective responsibility if no one feels the responsibility to actually meet the collective responsibility. No one's
Hey,
gonna fucking do it.
hold on. As I know it's not my bit. First off, I swear I'm hearing my audio from the game. I shouldn't, but
I'm not hearing it.
it's driving me crazy. But I want to say I want to welcome some people from the chat. We got a lot of people from the chat that I didn't get to say hi to. Um, hello Terry. Hello Lucky Pop Tart. How you doing, Pop Tart? Um, hello next 6 minutes and uh Kyber Dam.
Keep it in.
Keever Dam. Yeah.
But it's like I said, I have a somewhat draconian view that you have to actually choose to be good in order to be good.
Well, it's a conscious decision that you need to make, right?
Yeah. And this is something that, to go back to what Shady said earlier, the Captain America movies did this amazingly. Because
I would agree. The Captain America trilogy, my favorite, 100%.
yep. And Steve Rogers was just a good fucking guy. And they made it clear that he was a good guy. And they made it clear that he was choosing to do things. And he was doing things because they were the right thing to do and they needed to be done, not because it benefited him. And the best example of this is from the very first movie, when in order to show that he had a fantastic moral character, they tossed a dummy grenade into a group of people. And his immediate response was he saw the grenade and you could see him decide it's not going to kill anyone else, and he jumped on.
Yeah. I think that the second best was when everybody in his group, I forget if this was an Avengers or a Captain America, but it was everybody in his group was basically saying yes to the Accords, and then he's basically like, no, this isn't right, and all that crap.
That was in Civil War. Yeah,
Was that the third Captain America, or was that in an Avengers movie?
I think that was Civil War because I think the Accords were the result of Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
At least in the cinematic
Hold on.
universe.
Civil War MCU. Oh, that's the third Captain America.
Yeah, Captain America, Civil War.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, I agree. The first movie was the one that showed it the best. But...
I mean, it did have its goofball moments with like the where they introduce him as Captain America. Like,
Yep.
Hey, and he does all the stage shows, but
Mm-hmm.
when he starts getting into the actual hero business, it really works out, especially the second one, Winter Soldier, when it's like, yeah, dude, that's exactly where you would put a Captain America. In these, he would be leading a fucking covert siege type shit, you know?
And that's exactly what Captain America would do as well throughout that entire movie. This was his friend who stuck with him through thick and thin, and then he lost him. And he lost him. He never had a chance of trying to figure out what happened, trying to go back and save him, because what he knew is he lost him, and then he woke up 40 fucking years later. Actually, no, longer. Woke up, what was it, 60 to 70 years later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, everyone that he knew was dead. He thought that his friend had died. He wasn't able to confirm that his friend had died, but he thought his friend had died all those years ago. And if he hadn't died all those years ago, well, he sure as shit would have been dead by now. And then he finds out that his friend is alive, and his friend has had horrendous things happen to him. And he still knows that his friend is a good person at the core of him. But he's so fucked up, so broken, that he isn't himself. So what does Captain America do the entire thing? He tries to get him back to himself. He tries to redeem him. That is exactly what that character would do. Which is why Endgame pisses me off. Because there's no fucking way on Earth that Captain America would choose to go back and just live out his life and die of old age when he knows that he's needed.
Yeah, that was a big letdown and something the character would not have done.
Yeah, the man's entire existence is defined by his rigid adherence to what his duty is.
Yeah, to selflessness as well. So
Yep.
the fact that he would do something so selfish is...
I would say the only bearing I would give on that aspect is that it is a cinematic medium. So Chris Evans isn't going to be able to play Captain America all the time. It's one of those things where if they continue it, it's going to be jarring only because you're going to see a different actor play the character. Now, eventually that could smooth over, but as we're coming off of this giant, I mean, I don't know if there's been another movie experience that you can find where it's like it's spanning all these films, but coming off of that, it's gonna be a bit. So I mean,
but the thing is that I understand that argument, but it's still, you then have to get rid of the character by a means that makes sense for that character.
and they failed that miserably.
Yeah.
But even at that, they're still going to have a hard time, even with like Black Panther, where it's not.
He's died. Yep.
Yeah, it's not so much he change. So it's one of those things where it's when you're dealing with this medium, this cinematic movie style, you only have a finite of resources to play with, and unfortunately, this is where they're at. This is how they. But I do think they ended it poorly. I agree with you guys on that. I think they really could have had it so he didn't so much die off. Essentially, he could have just, yeah, I'm not going to be Captain America anymore because I lived my life and you guys do it, but he'll appear every now and then. Same with Tony Stark.
See, the thing is that you couldn't have had him let down the mantle until one of two things happened. He was no longer needed,
Yeah.
or he was no longer able to do what he would have needed to do. So the only ways that you could have had Captain America, that you could have had Steve Rogers step down from being Captain America, is death or crippling.
Well, didn't they have him as like head of Shield at some point too, in the comics? So I mean, they could have gone with that, and as Nick Fury went up to Sword, Captain America ended up holding up Shield.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not too versed in comic historia, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's better people to look to, but as far as my understanding, I mean, but then again, it's like even as we draft out all these uh, navigational courses to get to what we ultimately want, we know who's at the head of the wheel. Like we know that these people don't give a shit about these characters. They don't give a shit about the stories. So they're gonna go ahead and do whatever the fuck they want to do, and if we're on the cruise line, we're on the cruise line.
I think it's a combination of you have people that don't actually give a shit, and you have people that don't have the talent. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
think both of those need to be acknowledged, because I really doubt that if the writers had the capability of making amazing stories that people would talk about for goddamn generations, that people would return to time and again, because this just stuck with them. I really doubt that any writer would go, nah, not gonna. I just think that the current crop of writers do not have that ability. Now, I think that a good chunk of that comes from, as we've talked about on previous streams, Adam and Shady, if you've listened into the previous streams, I've talked about how you have a bunch of ideologues that have conquered middle management, especially HR and hiring,
Yeah.
and they're just hiring more ideologues into other positions in the company. So they hire based off ideology rather than ability. And when you do that, you're going to end up with shittier people. And I think that's where the issue is, that we've just had enough time of this hiring based off of that shit that it's completely fucked up. We don't have the great writers. We don't have the people that are able to write these stories that we all want, because we haven't hired them for the past 2 decades. So all of the ones that were there, because there used to be fantastic movies that would come out every so often that do stick with people, the vast majority of them are retired or
Yeah.
just stepped away from the industry. So we need to get back to hiring based on actual merit, so that we can have those quality of stories again. And we need to get back to the people that are in charge of these franchises, not just the writers, but everyone in charge of the franchises, actually giving a shit that they're in charge of these franchises. When you have an amazing property, you should feel a ridiculous amount of obligation to it. You should feel like you're a fucking steward. You don't own this shit. You're just preserving it for the next generation to enjoy it. That's why the Lord of the Rings movies were so goddamn well received and so popular. Because you could tell that's the attitude that they took towards making those movies. They couldn't get everything perfect because it's a bunch of really long books, so they had to trim things slightly in order to make them fit. Or not slightly, but they had to trim things in order to make it fit the medium.
Yeah.
But it was still the Lord of the Rings. They knew what they could trim without destroying the series and what was necessary. And they didn't add a fucking thing if they could avoid it. Meanwhile, now you have a bunch of people adding all kinds of shit. I mean, what is it? The one series that's coming out about Vikings Valhalla, right?
Yeah. They changed one of the Jarls to a black woman for POC purposes. It had nothing to do with story or lack of actors.
Yep.
Just
I'm trying to remember the Jarl's name so that I can pull up the depiction of the Jarl that... It's Jarl Håkon that is being portrayed. So it is Jarl Håkon Sigurdsson was the actual Jarl. Let me pull up the depiction of what this dude looked like, because there's not pictures, of course, at least not photographs, of course, but there's the actual like descriptions of him that then people have drawn based off of.
yeah.
So let's see, where is it? This is one of here. This is a side by side of the one of the images that people have drawn of Jarl Håkon and the actress that they have portraying Jarl Håkon. So
Did you?
I'm sharing it right now. As you can see, there's a real strong resemblance between the two, right?
Yeah. If you're going to do historical fiction, try to stick to accuracy. If you're not doing historical fiction, go wild. I don't care.
Yeah. And the thing that pisses me off is that if you wanted to have a few black people among the Norse forces, there's actually a way of doing that without having it be completely ahistorical. Because do you know what the Vikings were really fond of doing?
Yeah.
Raiding everywhere. And if they found someone that was particularly capable, they would often go, "You're fucking badass. Do you want to fight with me?"
Well, wasn't there a news article about they were groaning on about how they found a funeral pit with what seemed like a female
female warrior.
Viking. Yeah, but it turned out it seemed like she was like a Hun or something like that. And it's like, yeah, like mercenaries was a thing, you know. Like there were people who were fighting in countries that they were nowhere near. They were just there because they were good at fighting and they were offered coin, you know. And like you just said, you know, hey, you can either die or you can join our group. And they'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I'll join. We're raiding. We can get
You
booty
were a
and
hard
slave.
bastard to fight, but I managed to beat you. Want to be a hard bastard fighting next to me instead of against me? And they would do that fairly routinely.
I think the problem is a lot of people I feel they have a very simplistic view of history and they just kind of roll with it as opposed to acknowledging that they have a very simplistic view of history and then being humbled about it, you know. um what is it? Was it Socrates? The only thing I know is that I don't know nothing. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, dude, there's nothing wrong with learning new shit. Like, and it shouldn't take an eagle balls fucking dude like me fucking to tell you that it shouldn't have gotten to this.
And
ladies
there's also, because you reference one ancient philosopher, I'll reference another. One of the things that I've recently went through, the Letters from a Stoic, which is, or are the collected letters from Seneca to one of the people that he was fond of. And in that, Seneca is constantly referencing other philosophers from other schools of philosophy. And at one point he goes, okay, you're probably getting annoyed at me because I keep referencing Epicurus so often, and we aren't Epicureans, we're Stoics. And I keep referencing this person, and they aren't Stoics either. And you're probably going, what the fuck? Why aren't you referencing our school? The thing is that if someone gets it right, doesn't matter who the fuck they were, it's ours now. If it's correct, we need to work it into our philosophy. So it doesn't matter who it came from, doesn't matter what their belief was. If it's right, we need to accept it, and we need to work it into our philosophy.
Hey, I'm gonna split for the evening, so
Going to hit the hay and zonk out?
yeah, I need to get some water and stuff, and then I'll probably hit the hay.
Fair enough. Thank you for joining us. Do you have any parting words that you want to pass on to the viewers?
I will say all this griping about certain things, media and such. If you enjoy something, don't let anybody convince you otherwise that you don't like it. Just enjoy what you enjoy, but don't let people destroy what you enjoy either.
Yeah, if you viewed Endgame as a fantastic work of media, don't let me saying it has problems make you enjoy it any less, unless you listen to me and you go, you know what? That's actually pretty fucking valid.
Yeah. I'm more saying like, don't let people tell you you can't enjoy something.
Yep.
But yeah, that's all I got to say. And
that
I bid you both a good night and have a wonderful rest of the stream.
Will do. Have a good night, man. Thanks for being on.
Take care, Shades.
But yeah, I love that bit from Seneca because that's what everyone should fucking do. And that's why it pisses me off so much now that we're constantly hearing, trust the experts, trust the experts. Well, how do you know? You aren't an expert. Have I told you the story about student Adam?
About student Adam?
No, about student. And then comma Adam.
No. Uh, I I have not heard about the tale of the student.
So there was a ridiculous statistician named Fisher. He was one of the most well-known statisticians at the time, and had published in statistics a fuck ton. He came up with a statistical analysis that he called the Fisher F test. So the F test was meant to be a test that you would be able to take all your data, punch it through this equation, and you would figure out the likelihood of, if you were to repeat this test, if the null hypothesis were true, you would get data as extreme or more extreme than the data that you got this time. So the idea is, if the data that you get this time is ridiculously outside of the realm of the null hypothesis, the chance that the null hypothesis is correct is massively reduced. That makes sense?
Yes.
Just to give an example. So a example of a hypothesis would be that the length of legs on a human, or let's say a lizard, the length of legs on a lizard influences how quickly the lizard can run. The longer the leg, the faster the run. Sounds reasonable, right?
Yeah.
The null hypothesis would be that the length of the leg does not have an effect on the speed at which a lizard runs. So what you'd do is you'd get a bunch of different lizards, you would measure their leg lengths, and you would group them into long leg lengths, short leg lengths, medium leg lengths. And then you would race these lizards a bunch of times. You'd have several replicates for each lizard, and you'd have a good number of lizards, so you'd have a good sample size. Well, now you have to determine whether your results actually indicate what you were trying to test. So you pump it through a statistical analysis. The Fisher test was one such analysis. It was an early one. And if it came out with a specific result or less, then you knew that most likely the null hypothesis was incorrect, which means that your hypothesis was more likely than not correct at that point. All make sense?
So far, so good.
So Fisher published this. Everyone saw it, went, this is fucking awesome. We'll use this analysis. So people started using this analysis, and it spread throughout the scientific community and statisticians. There was a man who also was very excited about this. And he had what is probably one of the best jobs in existence. He was the QA at the Guinness Brewery.
Ooh.
His job was to make sure that the Guinness coming off the line at the Guinness Brewery tasted correctly and had the right compositions. That's a pretty nice fucking job, I think we can both agree. Right, Adam?
Well, yes, especially since when you said QA, for some reason, my first thought was, holy shit, he has to work a question and answer gig. Does he at least get to drink Guinness while he does that? It was kind of shoddy.
And then we found out that the QA was quality assurance, and that part of the quality assurance was that it tasted right.
Yes, and that made it all better.
Just made it rocket up in how amazing that job sounds.
Yep.
So he had this job. What he did was he was really into stats, really loved it. So while he was doing his job, he decided that he would use this new statistical model, because if this model worked correctly, he'd be able to test a smaller sample of the beer, which means that the brewery would then be able to sell more of the beer that it made in each batch, which increases the company profit. Sounds really damn good for the company. So he started doing his testing. As he was doing his testing, he started to expand his testing beyond what his original scope was. And as he expanded his testing beyond the original scope, he realized, oh shit, if the owners realize that I'm dicking around with stats when I should be working, I might get fired. But he also realized that the F test broke down if you didn't have enough of a sample size. If you had too small of a sample size, the F test started to break down, and it broke down rather severe. Being passionate about statistics and being fascinated by the topic, and also because he had already committed himself to dicking around on the job and potentially getting fired if he ever got found out, he decided to figure out a better way of doing the F test, a better equation for it, so that suddenly it was no longer that he had just been dicking around on the job, but no, he had been finding out a better way of testing the beer. That's what he was doing. It wasn't just him dicking around on the job with his hobby. He was now coming up with a way that he could use an even smaller sample size of the beer. Yeah, that might not get him fired. So he continued dicking around with it, and sure enough, he was able to finally develop a method that allowed him to get more accurate results from much smaller sample sizes than the Fisher test allowed. So he then realized again, I still might get fired. But I need to let people know that this test is a thing, and I need to let them know how to do it, because this will save other people from fucking up their experiments and fucking up their analysis by using an incorrect test. So he published the results of his study that he had done, and he published his new test. But because he was worried that he might get fired...
What year was this?
This was in the turn of the century, effectively. Let me quickly double check here. It was...
So 1900s?
Yeah, it was the late 18, early 19. Let me quickly double check, and it is...
A lot of shenanigans went down then, around that time period.
First student. But he decided that he would publish his test, and he did. But, again, he was worried that he might get fired. So, in order to avoid potentially getting fired, he decided to instead publish it under a pseudonym, and the pseudonym that he chose was Student, because he was a student of stats. And yeah, this Fisher was alive from 1890 to 1962, and I think this happened in the early 19s.
Ooh.
So he published his paper and published it under Student. He called it the Student T test, since Fisher had published his as the F test. And no one knew who the fuck he was, because he published it under a pseudonym. So they didn't know his pedigree. But everyone knew Fisher's pedigree. And like I said, Fisher was already well established at this time. He was one of the biggest names in stats. But at this time, we still had a really healthy habit of the only sort of consensus that matters is a begrudging consensus. And that it doesn't matter who the fuck someone is, it just matters whether or not what they said was right. So a bunch of statisticians looked at this test, this person that they had no clue who the fuck he was had published, and they went, son of a bitch, the math is sound. And then they experimented with both of the tests, and when they experimented with the tests, they found out son of a bitch, where he said the Fisher test fails, the Fisher test actually fails. And the direction that he said it failed in, it actually fails in that direction. He's correct about this. Let's see if his test does better. And holy shit, his test did. So people started using the student t-test. Still, no one knew who the fuck this person was, what their pedigree was, what information they had, how many years they had been in the field. It didn't fucking matter because it was correct. So, despite Fisher having this storied history, despite Fisher having this pedigree and all these papers that he had published, it was found out that his test was the inferior test, so people didn't use his test as often. So it really pisses me off every time that I hear someone say, well, listen to the experts. Listening to the experts, the only thing that you find out when you hear that someone's an expert is, yeah, the chance of them being right is slightly increased, but you still have to look at whether they're actually right. If they aren't right, doesn't matter how many letters they have after their name, they're still wrong. And if Jebediah, in his break from the, I don't know, garage that he works in, realizes something profound about quantum physics, and it's correct, it doesn't matter that it came from Jebediah as he was on break at the garage. Because it's correct. You just take the information because it's true, and you adapt it. And you don't give a shit about what the provenance of it was. You just care whether it's accurate.
Well, I mean, in a just world, but I don't think we live in those times right now.
Sadly, we don't. And there's more examples that don't have to go as far back. Like, do you know the story about the insulating foam that was used for the space race?
No, I can't say I do.
So, there's a specific type of insulating foam that is really good at helping with thermal shielding that NASA wanted to use for its space shuttle. The problem was, very few people actually knew how to work with this film, or with this foam rather. So what NASA did was they went, okay, who does know how to work with this foam? They found out that this foam was often used to make surfboards. So there were a bunch of surfers and surfboard makers that knew how to shape the foam and knew how to work with it. They weren't scientists, they weren't PhDs, they were just a bunch of beach bums. NASA wanted to work with this foam though, so what they did was they sent out a bunch of people to go to a number of surfing beaches. They found a bunch of people that said that they had used this foam in order to make their boards and had worked with it a good chunk of the time and were comfortable working with it. And they went, okay, would you like to work for NASA? And the end result was they hired a bunch of surfers to work on this very important foam that was needed. And if this foam failed, everyone would fucking die in the shuttle. But they hired the beach bums and surfers to shape this foam. And there was one concession that they had to make in order to hire on the surfers. And that was, the surfers requested that while they were working, if they noticed that the waves were really goddamn nice,
Ooh.
they wanted to be able to take surf breaks. NASA came back with a counter offer of, you can do surf breaks, but anytime that you spend surfing, when you should have been working, you have to make up. And the surfers went, deal. And NASA went, deal. So they hired a bunch of surfers and surfboard makers to work on the space shuttle.
Shit. Because that's an ease of mind moment, right?
It's a fantastic moment because the thing is that those surfers and surfboard makers knew how to do the thing that they needed done. They didn't know how to do it, so they hired the people that did. They wanted a surf break? Fine, you can have a surf break. We need you to do this, so as long as the job gets done, you can have your surf break. Deal? Deal. Golden. We need to go back to that. We need to go back to what matters is, can you do the fucking job? You can? Brilliant. Here's the job.
Hey, you're not going to find disagreement in that with me, so.
It's just like we were talking about last week with the whistleblower from the tech company about, so it turns out a good chunk of our programmers can't actually understand the program that we're working with.
Oh, yeah.
There's like 5 of us that still know how to work with this program. We need to hire more people that know how to work with this. Otherwise, it's going to fuck up and no one's going to know how to fix it.
Well, like you said earlier, I mean, it seems the strategy is that these ideologues get into a position like HR, or they create another one where it's, diversity and whatnot. And then, yeah. And then they just open up the gates to all the other people, And so that's why when you argue with them and about it, they're like, oh, well, my peers agree with me. It's like, well, yeah, because you came through the same gate.
Yep.
Shit.
Because your peers also don't know how to do their job, so of course they would get pissed off when someone points out that they don't know how to do their job. The problem is, none of you know how. It should be pointed out. And it's just this constant thing that it's ultimately going to tell. And the people that I feel the worst for when it comes to that are the people that would have gotten the job had it not been for those individuals in those positions that actually know how to do the job. And I think it might actually be slightly worse for the people that would have gotten the job even without the handouts from those people, that are now in constant question as to their ability because they got the job when they had those handouts, so they don't know whether they would have gotten it without them, and there's no way for them to find out. So it leaves people that are actually capable, that are actually people that should have that job, that have that job, but because they fall into this category or that category, now they're constantly questioning, well, do I actually deserve this job? Or was I just given it because someone with an ideology decided that I had the right skin tone?
Yeah.
And this is a big problem. That's one of the reasons why when you look at college acceptance and college dropout rates, Black people are really likely to be accepted into college. Black people are really likely to drop out of college. And there's 2 groups that I think are at the core of that dropout rate. There's the people that would have made it, but feel like they're an imposter because they don't know that they would have made it, and there's no way of finding out that they would have made it without the system being rigged. So they feel like they don't belong, and they drop out because of it. And then there's the people that, yeah, they actually didn't belong. They just got in because of these quotas, and then because they couldn't meet the requirements, they end up dropping out. And both of those are really bad situations to be in. Especially since without the current policies that create those carve-outs, the people probably would have gotten in another school that they knew that they had actually gotten in, and then they would have worked their ass off. And the people that would have gotten into the school without the carve-outs would now know that they got in without any sort of leg up, so they would know that they're equal to their peers. The carve-outs strip the people that win of the knowledge that they actually won. It makes the people that lost, despite getting handouts, feel even more like they're losers. And it makes it so that the people that lost, that the handouts were specifically against, feel like they were cheated, even if they weren't. It's a bad situation all around.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mixed bag of it too, because you're also going to get the people who feel that despite that, it's deserved,
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, ugh.
It's one of those things that you could hardly design a system more set to make people go against each other if you were trying. Because it leaves with everyone feeling pissed off or inflated or deflated. No one's at the point where they actually should be.
Like a sense of self-worth type of thing.
Yeah, because like I said, it's when you have a carve out that assists you. I always use sports when it comes to giving an example of this. You're fairly fit, Adam, and you've seen me. I'm not out of shape by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm definitely built for lifting strength, not running. You'd say that's fair, right? I have these tiny little stubby legs.
I would agree with what you just said.
Yeah, I'm a giant dwarf. Short legs. So, you can probably run for a decent bit. Am I correct in that assessment?
No. I am horrible at, what's it called?
Horrible at cardio?
Yeah. I'm not a big cardio guy, so... I can run, but it ain't gonna be a long distance.
So you're more of a sprinter like I am?
Yeah, yeah. It's I just hope I get away quick enough.
The line by Gimli when it comes to dwarves being able to sprint is fairly accurate in my experience.
Yeah, it makes sense. We're not made for running.
Not made for distance running, but we're fearsome sprinters.
Yep.
So this example won't work as well with you because you don't do distance running, but it'll still work to a certain extent. So imagine that you and I were going to be in a race. And in order to make sure that neither of us interfered with the other one during the race, we were going to have independent people judge our performance in the race. So there's going to be someone that clocks my time, there's going to be someone that clocks your time, and we're going to be running at different points, so we aren't even there to see each other run. So you show up at the place that you're supposed to start to run, and the agreement was that we're going to run, let's say, 500 meters. So you show up, and the person goes, "Oh, hello, Adam. So it looks like you're here to run the 500-meter race. So just a few rules. Looks like you're a bit brown. So rather than running a 500-meter, you're going to start at the 250-meter line. And you'll be running a 250-meter race. And also because you're clearly disadvantaged in this race, we're going to shave 10% of your time off. And because, again, you're clearly disadvantaged and Sanguine's clearly advantaged, we're going to add 10% to his time. And actually, rather than him running a 500-meter, he's going to run a 550-meter race. So, now, get to your spot. Oh, by the way, I'm not going to tell you his time. We're not going to tell him your time either. We'll just tell you which one won. So, get to your spot. So, you get to your spot at the 250-meter line. You run your 250 meters. And then you get word back later that you won the race. How safe do you feel in you actually beat me in a 500-meter race?
Just shit, not at all.
Exactly. Because you're going, well, I didn't even run a 500-meter race. And in fact, he ran more than a 500-meter race. And time was taken away from me and added to him? Fuck, I don't know if I would have won had those policies not been put in place. I just know that after those policies were put in place, I won. That doesn't make you feel good now, does it? Makes you feel kind of like you cheated, even though you didn't opt in for that shit. Someone else told you that's what's going to happen. That sound correct to you?
Well, it sounds like it sounds. What
Was
are
that
you
an
aiming at?
accurate summation of how you would feel in that situation?
Yeah,
The reasons why?
I'd say so.
So now then, let's say rather than you being told that you won, you get told that you lost. How fucking crushed are you when you get told that you lost after being told all the advantages that you were going to be given? That's worse than if you just lost a 500-meter race, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
now you lost a 250-meter race for you against someone who was running 550 meters, and you had 10% of your time subtracted from yours, while they had 10% of the time added to theirs. They kicked the shit out of you in that run. So you
Damn.
feel like you were just absolutely destroyed.
Dude, and they're teabagging you for 10 extra seconds for the booster shot that they got, you know?
Yeah. They probably went home and started making dinner before you even got across the race line.
Yeah.
Or the finish line. So it makes you feel like shit. Now then, let's pretend that it was the other way around. So you were told that you were getting all the disadvantages rather than all the advantages. You're told that you lost the race. Do you feel like you really lost? You were just told that you had to run a longer race, that you had time added to your time, while they had time subtracted to their time. They ran less than half the distance that you had to run. You're probably thinking, well, I probably would have won had it been a fair race. Now, if you get told that you won that race, well, you have all the disadvantages and they have all the advantages, you're going, holy shit, I'm a stud. I kick the shit out of them. And that's what we've done when it comes to the various admission policies and hiring policies. We've set up a situation where if someone knows that they're getting that assistance, which everyone knows that they're getting the assistance, and they don't get in, they're crushed. If they do get in, it's a hollow victory. It doesn't fucking matter because they know that there's a chance that the only reason that they won, the only reason that they got the spot is because it was designed to make it so that they got the spot. That isn't a competition. That isn't fair. That isn't something that they can take glory in or feel accomplished about. That's just, yeah, that's what it was there for. Well, the people that don't get in, that know that they have the disadvantages, they never feel like they actually lost. They get pissed off because if not for this rigged fucking system, I would have succeeded. I would have won. And then you go back to the people that get all the advantages. If they lose, now suddenly they know that they are not just slightly inadequate, but they are woefully inadequate. They're so inadequate that even when they have every advantage, they still lose. That's fucked up shit that we've set up.
Yeah.
We steal the glory of triumph, and we make the threat of defeat even worse. And yeah, it's a secret to everyone. So there's no way that you would even be able to look back and go, okay, so if I readjust everything back to what it was, did I win? Because if we were both running at the same time, and you passed the goal line or the finish line before I did, and you passed that finish line in a quarter of the time that it took me to run my longer distance, you'd still be going, oh yeah, I won that. I finished in a quarter of the time. I ran a little bit less than half. So I would have finished ahead of him, even if we had run the same. Or if you had a loss.
Hold on, bro. Is this because I opened up 2 streams today when I was trying to set everything up, and I monkeyed up, and
Are
then
you
we
trying
had
to ask if this is a punishment?
yeah. Is this for the parallel that Hammer had to come in and correct?
No. This is just me ranting about a topic that drives me up a wall. Because every time that I see people advocating for we need to have affirmative action, that's fucked up when you actually think about it. Because it just does horrendous things and fractures the people rather than uniting them. It doesn't improve anyone. It harms everyone. And when you're talking about all kinds of shit, you keep on seeing that pattern of this doesn't help anyone. It just hurts everyone. Yeah, it sounds like it should help people, but it doesn't. And you need to realize that it doesn't. I'm just ranting and rambling now, though.
Well, what do you think, man? We've been
Want to
about
wind
2
it in
hours.
for the night?
That's on you. I mean, I'm just a tech guy.
I'm fine winding it in if you feel like you've had enough of talking about things and nothing's a burning topic on the tip of your tongue that you need to get out.
Yeah, no. I see in the chat that they're talking about meat lovers pizza with pineapple and I don't know.
Do you
And
feel pineapple's an abomination, or are you pro pineapple?
well, that coupled with the sounds of your kitchen cooking, it's just got my tumbly rumbly. So it's one of those things where it's like, dude, I could go for some late night munching.
Yep. Feel the need to fuck off and go find some food.
It doesn't happen often, but
When it does, it happens with a vengeance.
yeah.
Fair
But,
enough. So we can
but
do
yeah.
the parting words, and I'll let you get first crack at them.
Well, it's been a interesting show this evening. Hopefully everything turns out okay. Like I said, I'm kind of flying blindly. I don't know what the show sounds like. So I hope all the technical stuff went through. I hope the duplicate stream didn't muck up stuff.
Everyone that was over there found their way over here. So we're good on that front.
But yeah, hey, thanks again, Sanguine, for letting me hang out with you on a Friday.
Thanks for handling the tech side after my computer decided to absolutely shit the bed.
Yeah, we're gonna fix it up for you, man. I think we got our top men on it, Hammer and Skep Tock. So we're
Yeah, I
good.
think I got it up and running. I just need to get everything restored now because I had to reformat the hard drive.
That's always fun.
All the info that was on it is not on it, but I had all that shit backed up. So.
Eesh. But hey, you know what, everybody? Thanks for tuning in, and love y'all, and God bless.
And I'll leave off with my standard of if you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you. And with that, have a good night, all. The zoo is closed.
And I hit end broadcast. Okay, right.
Fantastic.
Night.